Hey guys, this is John here in Los Angeles with the Alpha Channel update for Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. And today we are doing Topps Comics, The True Story of Dracula, Vlad the Impaler, written by Roy Thomas, illustrated by Ernesto Morado. Colorist is Paul Mounts. And here it is. I am Dracula. It's actually really pretty good. Check out the cover. And this is a reader's issue, but it is what it is. It's not bad at all. So I am Dracula. I actually read pretty much all the English translated books about Dracula years ago. Oops, sorry about that. And so I know this story really well. I've actually incorporated it into my work. And some of the events featured herein are taken and, liberally adjusted for my story. And some of them are adjusted in here. There's some things that happened. So basically, let me break it down. Vlad is the middle son of 3 children. He has an older brother named Mircea and a younger brother named Radu. His father's name is Vlad also. His father is entrusted with the Sacred Order of the Dragon by Sigmund of Constantinople, the Holy Roman Emperor. And the Order of the Dragon came with a number of things. It came with money, it came with troops, it came with a sigil and a sword, and in this one it also came with capes. What's really important though is that it's a chivalric order that is basically funded. It's a mercenary army funded by the Holy Roman Emperor. Now in this one, they did not give him troops. And this opening scene, to show who he is and how barbaric it was at that time, there's a man who spoke treason against Vlad Dracula's father, Vlad Dracula, and he was hung. And then another man in the crowd also says some stuff, runs his mouth, and he is decapitated on the spot. Now this is Vlad Dracula's father doing this, and Vlad's just a young man. But you can see it has an impact. His mother's there. She sort of speaks up against it. I don't know whether or not this happened in real life. There are some other things mentioned in here that may or may not have happened in real life. There's lots of stories about Vlad Dracula, so they can't possibly fit all of them in here. But what happens is Vlad takes his sons, Vlad II and Radu, to see the Sultan, the Ottoman Sultan Mehmet. Vlad he lives in what is now called Romania or Transylvania, and that time it was known as Wallachia. It's where the Danube River flows inland north of Istanbul, which is now Constantinople. It flows inland to the west, from the east to the west, which is this direction for you guys. The Danube River flows right into Europe. There's a mountain pass up here at the end of a long valley, which is basically Romania or Wallachia. And Bucharest is along this valley. Târgovista, where Vlad was born, is up here. Panari, which is where this castle is built, that features heavily in this story, is up further north in the mountains. And the Sultan wants to attack Europe, and he can do it if he can sail down the Danube. Europe at this time is very poor. The Black Death happens during this story. It hasn't happened yet. But so Vlad is, being a border country between the Ottoman Turks and Christian Europe, is constantly being, little skirmishes are being fought in his territory of Wallachia. So he has to make peace with the Ottoman Turks, and he has to make peace with the Christians, the Hungarian Christians. It's very difficult to do. And as he goes out to ensure the Sultan of his continued loyalty, he is ambushed by the Sultan's troops, which may or may not be how it happened. This is very cinematic for a comic book. But in real life, it probably just happened in the court. He was probably just, disabused of his position. But here, they actually lay hands on him and his children. They take Radu and Vlad II hostage to be served in the Sultan's court. And after a year or so, Vlad's father is returned to Wallachia. And then Janusz Hunyadi mounts a campaign against the Sultan, and he forces Vlad's father and Mircea, his older son, his eldest son, to participate. It goes horribly wrong. Janusz Hunyadi is a bad general. He leads them into a trap. They are nearly defeated, and on the way back, Vlad Vlad Dracula, leads a coup against Janusz Hunyadi. He's charged with basically incompetence and putting them all at risk. And when Vlad's father returns to his homeland, he is betrayed by his boyars and murdered, and his eldest son Mircea is buried alive. So now the story of this comes back to Vlad at the Sultan's court, and he is entrusted with his basically his articles of royal descendancy. Here's Mircea being buried alive. And Vlad is given the sword, the capes, and the sigil in this one. In real life, it would have been a very large budget. It would have been troops, and then it would have been, the sigil and the capes and the sword or whatever. In my story, it's the troops themselves that are magical. The soldiers themselves are fallen angels encased in armor, so they can't be burnt by the sunlight. They're basically the birthplace of the vampire bloodline. Is fallen angels working for the Holy Roman Empire, been enslaved by the Catholic Church. But in this, Vlad is basically returning to he has a battle with, he's chasing down the man who murdered his father and took the throne. And once he kills him, his name is Vladislav Denesti. And once he murders him, then he'll be able to return and take the throne. And so that's what's going on here. This guy has been ruling for a few years after Vlad first got, This guy's been ruling for a few years after Vlad. So there's been a few times when Vlad returned home. He returned home once with the help of the Sultan and only reigned for a few months before he was driven out. And he went north to his cousins. And then after a few years up there, he came back again. And this time he successfully drove Denesti out. And he threw what may well be one of the first red weddings recorded in history. In order to settle things with the boyars are basically the nobles of his homeland, he invited them all to an Easter celebration. He took the throne in the fall, but he waited until after the winter to throw a celebration for all the nobles of his lands and invite them all out to sort of make peace. Now, this isn't how it happens here. How it happens here, he tells them that he wants to build a great castle to defend their lands from the north. In truth, what happened was during the festival, he asked them, "How many kings have you served?" And all of them had a different answer. Some of them had served 5, some of them are princes. And at this point, they were called princes. They weren't called kings. Some of them had served 2 or 3 or 5. Some of them had served as many as 30. And he said, "The nature of your treasonous hearts is why you have had so many princes. If you were loyal, you'd have had but one. And the old and the infirm he had put to death, and everyone who could march he had marched north to build his castle, where they worked until they died." That's a true story. So here, he does, I'm going to point this out first. In this image right down here at the bottom, they put a glint in his left eye, and it makes him look cross-eyed. That's a big no-no for colorists. The colorist should have fixed that. The colorist should have made that not have him look cross-eyed, even though the artist did it wrong. You could say the artist did it wrong, but the colorist magnified the problem. So that's a what not to do. But I do like these few pages. They have summed up a lot of things in a very short period of time. This is Vlad explaining to them that they will They're going to pay for their treachery. And he has all the old ones killed, and the rest he has marched up north to work for him. So this is Topps Comics. It's good. I didn't read this back page bit. Here's an ad. I do like that his eyes are colored red throughout the book. I want to show this if I can. I'm sure they're right here. They start off as sort of a violet, and then they become redder as time goes by, which is a very nice touch. We have 2 and 3. This is a 3-issue limited series, so we're going to do that. I'm very happy about that. Today's Yggdrasil card. Today I am running late, so this won't get uploaded until tomorrow morning. Today's Yggdrasil card. This is the Yggdrasil deck. My writing is going really well. I didn't have an Odin chapter last night, but I got 2 chapters done, and it was almost 2,200 words. So I'm at over 90 pages and 30,000 words, maybe 35,000 words. This card is Thassi, and he is the patron of maturing, growing old with wisdom, and that sort of thing. Getting old, basically growing old, Thassi. And so, what do I have to talk about? There's a lot of drama going on around the election. There's a lot of drama going on. I saw that someone has seized a bunch of government files. Whose was it? And they threatened to release them. It probably won't be anything too much of a big deal. But I think we're going to see more ransomware stuff. I think we're going to see government secrets come out. It is interesting they're talking about how the Kamala campaign is talking about how she's going to fix all of Trump's mistakes, ignoring the fact that Biden's been president for the last 4 years and that she's been vice president. It's pretty hilarious. What I have noticed is that the programming of the NPCs, the brainwashing works so good. Like I saw this clip of Quentin Tarantino drunk on the Bill Maher show, and if they could, these people would make it illegal to be pro-white. That's really what they hate, and it's because how they've been programmed. It's what they are. They're small, weak people who've been programmed, and they love authority. They're lackeys. They're toadies. They're the definition of lickspittles. People who have no real courage. They discover who the strongest enemies of the institutions are, the big ruling institutions, and that's who they go after. And they're, weak people. All the people who support Israel are weak people. All you people who are toadying up to the Jews you're basically serving Skynet. Whereas I am Skynet. So it's the weirdest thing. I am the embodiment of all the problems of tyranny. I don't think I would be a tyrant because I'm trying to move past that. But you guys are wannabe tyrants, which is lower than low. You're you want your turn, and you're dumb, and you're it's one thing to have a beneficent dictator, someone who believes in strength for the good of the whole. It's another thing to have worthless people who just want a turn at bullying people. That's not... There are bullies in the world, yes. Sometimes they find themselves in positions of power, yes. That's not a goal. That's not what you should aspire to. And a lot of you are so ignorant that you think the only way to get power is to be a bully. And so you abandon virtue in pursuit of power. And so even if you get power, you'll never be power. You'll only wield power. And that means you are servants of force. You never are power. I am power. I don't need power to have power. I'm power everywhere I go. And that I really understood that the past couple of weeks when I was convinced that I was going to be a millionaire in a month. And the way I approach that is different than the way I've ever sort of approached. First off, I don't play the what would I do if I won the lottery game. But the way I approached it this time is far different than I approached it when I was in my 20s. I essentially came to the conclusion that my life really wouldn't change much. I'd essentially continue, I'm doing my life's work. I need to figure out how to make you guys charitable volunteers. That's the sort of fans that I'm looking for. Fans who, now it's very hard when you're doing this yourself. I was watching someone talking about marketing the other day, and they were saying that what you need is media affiliates. And that's what I have to try and find for my writing. Doing a really good job with it, but going around and saying that I'm the best writer in the world, all that really does is show off a megalomania and an ego that is not representative of my brand or who I want to be. I am gifted at writing, but that's my talent. So I have to find a way to let other people tell you about that for me. So, and then be here for you guys to find me. So I need to keep doing this, but I also need to find brand partnerships where, I can promote my stories on their channel and they can promote their stories on my channel, and we can help each other. And that's really about values. That's really about value judgments and about what you want to promote as a writer. That's what the culture war is about. So being a writer is the front lines of the culture war, more so probably than anything else is. So yeah, that's where I'm at tomorrow. And Friday we have Vlad, Dracula parts 2 and 3, and more Yggdrasil cards, and I gotta get going, so got the hiccups. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.